Hello, friends. Today, I would like to speak about my understanding of the macrobiotic view of death. The information that I'm bringing to you is from a book that I loved. I remember when I discovered this book in 1993, it was published. It's called Holistic Health Through Macrobiotics, and it's by Michio Kushi and Edward Esko. I'm looking particularly at pages 116 in case you are able to follow along. So this is the larger view of what happens after this life. And after I explain that, I would like to give an update on my husband, Sheldon, who is making his transition to the non-physical in these days. So first of all, what is health and what is death? Because obviously we're moving in health or away from it. So when the spiritual channel and the chakras are not receiving any charge, this is the state that we call death. It means to be alive, to be healthy, is when the chakras, the spiritual channels, meridians, and the meridian branches are actively charged with smoothly flowing energy. So the more that's true, then the healthier we are. When there is no energy charging the body, then that distinguishes between life and death. Death means then that there is no electromagnetic charge running through the body, so our systems don't function anymore. And obviously we can no longer think or, well, we don't know, it seems like we can no longer hear, it seems, see, feel, or respond. The concept of death exists only for people who assume that existence is limited to the physical world. Holistic understanding takes into account the invisible spiritual aspects of life. The human body is composed of 7 layers of a huge spiral that traverses both the physical and vibrational worlds. Time and space are but small parts of infinity, and in reality, they are the product of our relative imagination. All human desire arises from the perception of time and of space, gaining strength as we develop inward towards the physical body. When we separate from the material and the sensorial bodies, and these are the first 2 levels, we could say, of this huge spiral of materialization or dematerialization. So that's when activities of individual feelings cease. And there are 5 additional layers still there. And in certain aspects, it seems that life after death may be more active than life in the physical world. The 3rd layer envelops the first 2 of material and sensorial being and is the source of emotions and feelings. It's often called the astral body or the aura. When it detaches at the time of death, it's sometimes envisioned or imagined as a ghost. 4th layer is the vibrating body called the soul, and this is the source of communication. The vibrating body, of course, can't be seen. We can feel it as intellectual and or as social consciousness. 5th layer of the body is subtle, refined waves. With it, we are able to communicate across great distances with extrasensory perception, ESP, and telepathy. We activate this body when we have a certain feeling about someone or a premonition about something coming in the future. When these waves move at very high speeds, they cluster and appear or exist as what we would call possibly spiritual particles, which are nothing but weight. This 5th level is where understanding begins with the formation of images, mental pictures, imagination, either true or fantastical, depending on our condition of health. And this is the realm of spirit. The sixth level is very difficult to perceive. This is the world of pure expanding and contracting motion, what we call yin and yang. It's the origin of pure consciousness in all forms, accessed often by meditation. And then finally, the seventh level is the universal, infinitely expanding body. All of us are within this universal spirit. The infinite universe exists everywhere, throughout all time. In the physical world, the universal body appears as nothing. On the level of God, it is everything, the source of infinite depth, endless time, boundless space. It's the state of pure being that sometimes we can imagine. It is non-color that includes all colors, and silence that encompasses the complete harmony of all sounds. Subconsciously, we may be thinking that our life is ephemeral and that someday we'll die. In another part of our consciousness, we feel that our life is eternal and continues after death. These feelings arise when our body synchronizes with the spiritual world, and that lets us understand and remember and know our endless life. Health is the growth of consciousness towards universal, all-embracing love. Then when we die, our next life is much happier and easier. After we shed our bodies and all different layers of the bodies, one by one, until we return to the infinite universe itself, that's when we are self-realized. Actually, there's not a self at this time. We can just say universally realized. The higher vibrational body withdraws from the physical body at the body's death and continues living in the world of vibration or of energy. We gradually change into each higher layer, becoming freer and freer until we are God itself. Each of our lives then is preparation for the next. As we continue on our spiritual journey, we embrace the solar system, the Milky Way, all the galaxies, and ultimately far beyond the visible, detectable universe. We develop a refined spiritual nature. Our memory of these invisible worlds becomes clear, and we start to understand them in a practical, non-mystical way. Our playground becomes larger and larger in a world without end. I would like to tell you now a little bit about Sheldons Progress and his development of what's happening with him. So to give just a very brief background, I'll just mention that in 2010, even before that in 2003, he had a heart attack. And actually this happened at a Kushi Institute summer conference in Michio's presence. So we were well taken care of. Since then, in 2010, most recently, he developed what's called congestive heart failure. And today, that's a situation that in the movies, I always see the hero has this terrible condition and he's in the hospital, and that's the condition that he has, CHF, congestive heart failure. Sheldon has that already 10 years, also congestive kidney failure. So he's a very strong fellow to be going all this time. In December of last year of 2020, he was on a step ladder, a low ladder, 1 meter, reaching for something, lost his balance and fell and broke his hip. And the ensuing operation taxed his heart, of course, and his kidneys and his system, and began a downhill slide with what's called anasarca. That's a condition where the body just can't absorb its fluids and his whole body swelled up terrifically. I think it was, how much, 15 or something kilo, about 25 pounds that he added on, not of real weight, just of water. It was really difficult. His legs became very heavy. It became very difficult for him to function. And little by little, he began to withdraw. He began in June, so last month, He only would eat some miso soup I would prepare in the mornings, and I kind of ensure that was good for him. And more, he would lose his concentration, his physical strength, his interaction, his physical body became weaker and weaker and less able to sustain him. He still enjoyed car trips. We would go for rides to the beach, just sitting in the car and gazing out at nature. Then in this month, in July, at this point already, he was, let's say in the first week, possibly able to sit up. He blessed me on my birthday of July 2nd, and in the presence of friends was present and interacting with them. He, by this time, had stopped eating and stopped drinking. So he had stopped nutrition altogether, just a natural kind of, shall we say, regression, that this is what was right for him and just was not willing to take in any nourishment. By the second week of July, last week, he no longer was able to rise from his bed. He had very poor control of his bowels and then stopped with any excrement, and just receiving fluids intravenously and painkillers, stronger and stronger, unfortunately, drinking a little bit of water. The family gathered together this last Saturday, and he was responsive. He was present for them and greeting them. On Sunday, he dictated the last chapter of his autobiography that he's been working on. As a matter of fact, that's why he went up on that stepladder to get a photo album. And he named the last chapter, "It Takes Many Angels to Support a Life." And in that, he expressed his appreciation for all the people, especially those who came to my party, and he wished me well. On Monday, our rabbi came and offered a prayer that's called vidui. The Jewish tradition has this prayer of confession, which is recited together with the person who is so severely ill as to be near death, and in order to kind of ease his transition. He's now becoming less and less coherent, repeating demands that we sometimes understand and sometimes don't, and is confused from all of this very strong medication and painkillers, morphine patch, oxycodone, these very, very strong medications. So I would say that now we're in a holding pattern as Sheldon slowly detaches from this world, giving us blessed time to adjust. So in a way, I can say that all's well. Sometimes, of course, it gets to me more than others. It's not easy, of course, to lose my best friend. I can say that he's learning to release, and I know that he's willing to do it. His body is so weak, and his mind's still strong, even though his expression is so limited. Heat seems to be moving up from his legs to his torso, to his neck and face as he dies upward. This dying seems to me about as difficult as being born, I don't know, and sometimes living can be no picnic either. I truly look forward for Sheldon to that glorious world of no time and no space, of all time and all space, no color, all color, and no resistance. I know it's a wonderful existence, and I'm happy for him. I'm so happy for Sheldon. The last thing I'd like to mention, that in the Tibetan book of Living and Dying, there's a practice described as the poa. And this is a transference of consciousness that helps the dying person let go into the dying process with ease and confidence, and to fully release from this life. And it's especially effective at the moment of death and in the days immediately around that. So I would appeal to you, listener, that if you choose, you could do this practice if you would like to help me to support Sheldon in his transition. At the time of death, when consciousness had separated from the body, the mind of the dying person is highly sensitive. With our own compassionate intentions, then we can affect his consciousness with the wisdom and love that we invoke during this poor practice that I'll describe now. And this will allow him to settle and to release from the attachments to this life and to enter the process of dying and rebirth, if you choose to believe that, with ease and intention for a positive next incarnation. So if you would like to, please enter into a comfortable meditation posture, feeling yourself relaxed and clear, and invoke love and wisdom and compassion. Imagine a sphere of pure golden light before you. Consider the sphere or presence you are visualizing as the essence of wisdom and compassion. Open your heart to its presence and trust that it's there. And pray. May Sheldon know that it's time for him to let go into the process of taking a new life. May he know that this life is over and that his family and friends love and appreciate him and want him to move on with confidence and with ease. May Sheldon be guided towards a new and beneficial birth in a place that he can accomplish all of his virtuous aspirations. So imagine that the light from the heart of wisdom, like the light of a rainbow, streams into Sheldon's heart, and that he's comforted, cleansed, and set free. Imagine that his body and mind dissolve into the light and the heart of wisdom. Thank you so much.